Are you ready to rip cards out of your opponent's hand, field, and soul? Because today we're talking about Seraph Snow, a deck that has replaced Bruce's spot as the best hit turn 4 and win strategy. This is because Seraph Snow can play before turn 4 as well. Our goal is to rip key cards from our opponent's hand while abusing the prison mechanic to make sure our early turns are uncontested. Then, lastly, play Seraph Snow Pure Light to push for game. Now, onto my deck list. To state the obvious, this deck isn't going to be running any Persona rides. We only care about the grade 4, and not only are we running for the grade 4, we have our turn 3 triple drive and 3 copies of Chakrabarthi Dead to ensure that we see it. Seraph Pure Light is an Imprisoned 6 that rips cards out of hand and gives power and crit to your board. This is effectively a better Persona ride, but also giving crit and possibly upwards of 20k to your front row. This effect shreds almost every other deck in the game and turns any turn 4 into a final turn. Now, our main 2 imprisoning cards are Aurora Battle Princess, Accused Macarite, and Aurora Battle Princess, Agra Rouge. Accused Macarite is a stupid hard to get promo that's unfortunately essential for the deck to function. I'm struggling to even find listings for it. On place, it imprisons 1 off the opponent's top deck, then can gain attack if there are 3 or more imprisoned. This starts your opponent on the cycling of having to neg resources to get their units back out of prison. Well, that's if they want to deny you prison numbers, but much like the US prison system, it's all designed to be cyclical. This is an easy 4 of that should be a lot easier to get. Agra Rouge is a simple on-place imprison 1 from front row. She has a secondary skill of gaining 5k attack and 10k guard for having 2+ units in prison. We all know how important guard is in Overdress. Agra Rouge is a 4 of. Aurora Battle Princess Taser Large is a bit of a slowdown, so we don't die on turn 3. Decks like Magnolia and Bastion like to call cards from other places than hand, so having this matchup dependent slowdown is nice. In any matchup though, it does let you punish players for calling units back from prison, so we run 2 so we can see it without being overwhelmed by them. On the hand pressure front, we have Aurora Battle Princess Cuff Spring. She forces our opponent to imprison 1 from hand, then draw 1. Similarly to Accused Macarite, she helps us fill prison, but she also destabilizes our opponent's hand slightly. Usually, you either rip guard or a combo piece, depending on what turn this is activated on. Easy 4 of. Our 2 grade 1s are Hyperspeed Rover Chevalstead and Aurora Battle Princess Suppressed Gleamer. Chevalstead is a generic on-board in prison and can draw you a card if you have 3 in prison, after the effect is activated. This effect to draw can still trigger, even if you can't imprison anything. Typically, Accused Macarite and Cuff Spring are going to ensure this effect is live though. This brings us to Suppressed Gleamer, also known as Free Back Row. On place if you have 3 or more cards in prison, you can call another one of this unit out from deck. Not only that, it gains 5k attack if you have the grade 3 or 4 on Vanguard Circle. This unit is objectively better rounded Azalea and lets you maintain to hand easily, or call back a strong board for free. Due to this card's self-searching nature, it's either 3 or 4 of or none of, and the value is too strong, so I'm going to recommend it be ran at 4. I'm running a very crit trigger focused lineup. Early pressure is still strong, and we don't need fronts, as Pure Light does the job there. We run 4 draw triggers to shore up this deck's defensive capabilities, as well as ensure we can see Pure Light by turn 4. On to Mulligan. We're looking for 2 things during Mulligan: Seraph Pure Light and our imprisoning engines, Macarite and Cuff Spring. Going second, I'd look to keep a Chevalstead in hand to have something to rest for prison. After that, you're going to want to keep aggressive pieces like Gleamer or Agra Rouge. Keep Taser Large for some matchups where you're likely to be rushed from either prison or from grave or maybe even soul. Magnolia and Zorga are some examples. Keep PGs against big number, big crit decks like Gravidia. Keep triggers if we want to guard early against aggressive or scaling decks. On to matchups. This is the best deck in the game, followed by Magnolia and maybe Nirvana. As such, it has some of the best matchups in the game. It does tremendously well into the set 3 meta decks of Bruce, Bastion, and Laronero, and it cripples just about everyone else. The downside is it can lose to Magnolia if it goes second, and Gravidia and Baron Magnus can rush it down if they go first. Honestly, the grade 4 mechanic is so strong, it warps just about every game into effectively being over if Pure Light is played. On to deck rating. This deck is a 4 out of 5 on power. While its larger numbers and extra crit gain are strong, it doesn't multi-attack, and that caps out the deck's pressure. The pressure really comes from taking away cards from the opponent. This deck is live from turn 2 onwards. The ability to call out a free board and imprison cards throughout the game is nuts. This deck doesn't hit its peak till turn 4, so 4 out of 5 on speed. Magnolia is faster. This deck rips cards out of the opponent's hand like crazy. It has ridiculous field control, and it can even remove the opponent's soul, which isn't something any other deck in Overdress can do. It's everything Eugene was supposed to be able to do. 5 out of 5 on control. This deck can be built basically however you want, and has control tools for every matchup. It hits soul for decks like Bruce, it hits field for decks like Nirvana, it hits hand for, well, every deck. This deck feels like it has more viable support than just about every archetype except maybe Bruce. 5 out of 5 on versatility. This deck's value is only bad when compared to Nirvana, which is able to draw unholy amounts of cards should the player decide to. Seraph Snow, on the other hand, has to resort to a free soul charge 3, draws every turn from Chevalstead, and free units to call from deck. Ridiculous, but somehow still dwarfed by another deck. 4 out of 5 on value. I'd recommend this deck to meta meta players this format, as well as every control player as well. I know this deck is quite popular as an aggro option, but it functions better as a control deck than control decks like Eugene. Thanks, Bushiroad. Well, that's the profile. I have some more Set 4 content coming up. If you want to vote on what content comes up next, please remember to subscribe so you can see the poll. In any case, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.